Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is all about making this twisted top with double handkerchief flare. If this is something you're interested in, then let's get started. I have drafted out my pattern, so this is my front and this is my back pattern paper. We'll be working on the back piece first because it's less complicated from the front. So the length of the back is 17 inches, then I added half an inch sewing allowance to it. Before taking out my measurements, I've also marked 1 inch for zip allowance. What I'm going to do here is to take in 1 inch from the waist because I don't want this dress to have that. So I'm just going to take in 1 inch from the waist, then I'm going to connect it to the neckline. So after that, I'm going to add that 1 inch that I took from the waistline. I'm going to add it back to the waist. What I'm doing here is that I'm adding sewing allowance to the neckline. This is not necessary if you don't want to. Once I'm done with all of that, I'll go ahead and cut out my pattern. We'll be working on the front pattern next. Please note that this front pattern paper is on a fold. Just like the back, the length of the front pattern is 17 inches, then I added half an inch sewing allowance to it. I'll go ahead and cut out my pattern. From my shoulder, I'm going to measure where I want my neck depth to be. So I made that 7 inches. From the waistline, I'm going to go up about 2 inches. So plus the half an inch sewing allowance, that makes it 2.5 inches. So I'm going to mark that. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to connect the lines from my shoulder to my neck depth and the 2.5 inches. I'm going to use my curve rule for the sharp point because I don't want any sharp points. I will also add half an inch sewing allowance to it. Once I'm done with that, I'll go ahead and cut it out. I'm going to fold the pattern into two to get the midpoint and just give the midpoint a notch. I should have done this before cutting out the front piece. So what I'm going to do is just to place the front piece on an extra piece of pattern paper. Make sure the pattern paper is straight and whole. Then just cut out the waistline. Once I'm done with that, I'm just going to set it aside. I'm going to work on it later. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to place the front piece on a extra pattern paper again. After that, I'm going to cut out the middle part of the pattern paper. I'm going to cut it to the edge, to the very edge. I'm not going to cut it off totally. What I'm trying to achieve here is that I want to create an opening for the twist to go in. So I'm going to mark about 1.5 between the two openings and cut it out on the other pattern paper. This is what it looks like once I was done, and I've already marked out the 1.5 opening. I'm going to draw a curve, or rather a semicircle on the opening. After that, I'm going to cut it out. I'm going to work on the other pattern paper that I set aside. So right here on the center front, I'm going to mark 2.5. Then on the side, I'm going to mark 4.5 inches. Next thing is to join the point with a curve rule. I also added half an inch sewing allowance to it. This is the fabric I'll be using for this project. I've gone ahead to cut out my fabric off camera so that it will be fast. So this is what the back looks like. I've also overlocked the shoulder and the zip side. I also cut out facing for the back. So the first thing I'm going to do is to join the neckline. This is what the front piece looks like. I actually cut out 2 pieces for this. Then I'm going to go ahead and stitch it all up. For this part, I actually cut out 2 pieces, then I attach interfacing on each one of them. I'm going to place it on each other, making sure the right side is facing one another. Then I'm going to stitch the upper part, the curved part, only by half of an inch. This is the front piece after I'm done stitching it up. So what I'm going to do is to fold it on each other, ensuring that the notch, the 1.5 inch opening meets each other. Then I'll go ahead and stitch it for about half of an inch. This is what it looks like once I was done stitching it. I'm gonna have to press it. Then I'm going to open it up. Then pass the other front piece into that hole and bring it out, and then stitch it up again. So guys, this is how it should look like once you are done stitching it up. So guys, when I measured the side of my front on the pattern paper, it was 9.5. So right here, after I'm done stitching up, it is 9 inches. I'm going to make mine 9 inches. So when I just attach it to the other that curve stuff, I'm going to make it about, I'm going to place it about half of an inch. You get to see it when I do that. So what I'm going to do here is just to fold the other excess in, then use gum to attach it to the front one, to the twisted one. You can go ahead and stitch yours up, but I'll be using gum for my own. So guys, this is what it looks like once after I use gum for it. So what I'm going to do right now is to bring the curve part and place the front piece on it. So right here, I'm going to mark half of an inch on both sides. Then I'm going to pin the front, the twisted top on the curved piece. So when I measure it now, it's going to be 9.5. After that, I'll go ahead and stitch it up. So guys, this is how it looks like once I was done stitching it up. I've also gone ahead to attach the back and the front piece by the shoulder. The next thing I'm going to do is to join the side seams. After I'm done with the side seam, I'll go ahead and measure my waist. So whatever I get for my waist, I'm going to use it to cut out my handkerchief flare. So I got 29 inches. My waist is actually 27 plus 2 inches for the zip allowance. To cut out the handkerchief flare, I've already folded my fabric into 4, just like you cut out a normal flare. I folded it into 4 pieces. To get my waist circumference, what I did was to divide my waist, that is 29, by 6.28. That gave me 4.61, but I made mine 4.5, so I'm going to mark it all the way around. So right here, I'm going to check it if it's up to my waist measurement to avoid story that touches the heart. So guys, what I did not record before this is that all the edges were 23 inches before I marked out my waist circumference. From this point to that other edge is 23 inches. From this point to the other edge is also 23 inches. Every one of them is 23 inches. So don't make a mistake and just do what I was doing. Just measure 23 inches, then you can cut out your waist circumference. I hope you get this. Or rather, just take out the measurement of your upper part from the actual measurements you want your gown to be. Though this was not enough, that's why I made it 23 inches, but luckily for me, it wasn't too long or too short. So guys, once I'm done with that, I'm going to cut out my waist circumference. To achieve this kind of handkerchief flare, what I did was cut out 2 of these. So if you are making this kind of style, just make sure you have about 3.5 yards of fabric. For the first handkerchief flare, I'm going to cut along this line here. This line, I'm going to divide it into half. I'm going to cut along that line right there. Guys, this is the second flare. Just watch how I'm going to fold it to cut it out. So for this one, I'm going to cut it out on the longer parts. Look at how I folded it. I took the edge of that point, then I'm just going to make sure everything is equal, then I'm going to cut it out. Please ignore the part that I joined. I had to join a lot in this second one because the fabric was not enough. Luckily for me, it was not showing like that in the dress. So I'm going to fold it, then cut it on that long part. What I'm going to do is to attach the upper part of my gown to the handkerchief flare. So I'm going to put the upper part in between the two flares. I hope you understand it. So I'm going to pin it up like that. Then I'm going to pin the other flare to the other side of the upper part. Once I'm done pinning them together, I'll go ahead and just stitch it up. This is what it's going to look like. There is no sewing allowance showing on the inside of the dress, so this is how neat it should look like. After attaching the handkerchief flare to the upper part, what you're going to do is to stitch the hem of the flare. You should stitch the hem first before you go ahead to fix the zip. To sew the zip allowance, then you should fix your zip to the dress. If you're adding sleeve to your dress, you can go ahead and add it to yours, but I will not be adding to mine. So guys, this is how the back looks like once I was done without adding the darts and using the technique that I use. It's so perfect. There's no bulginess and it lays so well on the back. I had to use black for the zip because I could not get the zip anyway. It was even difficult for me to see the color of the thread. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel. And if you have any question, you can leave it in the comment section. Bye for now.